Shalom, family. It's good to see everybody here. There are some things we are going to talk about that's going on that's been heavily reported since the eclipse. Now, one thing I want to talk about, I was actually out today, and I don't know about any of you. You can let me know in the chat. There's an awful lot of dead looking trees in my state. Usually this time of year, I'm in the Northeast, so the trees will shed their leaves for the winter. And then usually when spring come, you'll see the bulbs on the tree, or some of them will bear flowers, or you will see some signs of life. The tree will be pollinating. You'll notice things like that, right? These trees are not showing one bulb on the limbs. And I'm not talking about a few trees. I'm talking about a massive amount of trees are looking as bare as they did in the middle of winter that I'm looking at. And I guess I didn't notice it before, but I sure notice it now. So when I came home, I went to research it, and I found an article, and I might do this. It says dead trees around the world are shocking scientists. They don't know what's causing this massive tree die off that's going on around the world. So I'm going to look into this more, and maybe when I have enough information on it, I will do another live stream. I just don't know if any of you have observed this. I'm certainly noticing it. It's almost sticking out like a sore thumb around me. Trees that I would normally see coming back to life, they're just standing there dead. So, like I said, let me research it more and then maybe, I'll do something on this one. So let me talk to you about the reason why you are here, ladies and gentlemen. There are articles coming out saying that since the eclipse, people are feeling sick and they are noticing changes in everything. And so we're going to talk about this. Now, I guess I'm fortunate because we stepped outside during totality and even took pictures, and my son did a video of totality when we were outside. And we came back in the house and we're fine. I didn't feel sick. I didn't feel any illness, nothing. I'm fine. He's fine. And don't know what's going on with other people. So, but I do know after the eclipse, because so many people ran to these different hotels and different locations, there were, and I don't know if any of you were watching, there were a lot of car accidents and a lot of congested highways across the country because everybody after the eclipse were all trying to get back home. And, and they said there were accidents all over the place and people were stuck in traffic for hours and stuff. Yeah, I said, boy, that was a mistake trying to go somewhere else. Probably would have had a better view at home. All right. So let's get into this one, y'all. And let me know if you heard about anyone in your area, maybe friends or family that are talking about feeling sick. I haven't heard anything as of yet. Um, most people that I talk to or have been talking to me about the eclipse, I haven't heard anything as far as them saying they are sick. So, Americans suffering from eclipse illness. Now, y'all, the normal thing that always happened, people will have visual problems the next day, especially the people that are prone to being sunburned. They will get what's called sunburned eyeballs. Yes, their eyeballs will even sunburn. And it's not unusual if they don't have any good protection on and they stare into the eclipse, you'll hear about people suffering from visual problems the next day, or they have to go to the hospital or a doctor because they're having problems with their eyesight. That is something that really occurs with every solar eclipse. It's always someone that's going to look at it and end up um, having some eye problems, because it does get very bright. Americans suffering from eclipse illness, including insomnia, headaches, and changes to women's periods. So, Americans reported bizarre physical and mental ailments leading up to and during the eclipse, called eclipse illness. That's what they're labeling it. The symptoms that they are hearing from Americans across the country are headaches, fatigue, changes in menstrual cycles, and the insomnia seem to be the biggest complaints they are hearing from America. While NASA said there is no evidence linking human health to a solar eclipse, studies have found that celestial events can impact animals, specifically dogs. Yes, they will become anxious. I used to notice that in my dog. If there were eclipses or a lunar eclipse, I would notice his behavior would change. I did notice that. I had my dog 19 years, so I would notice certain changes in him, when these events would happen. So a total lunar eclipse happens when the moon and the sun line up perfectly, and the moon is close enough to cover the whole entire sun. Well, the last time we know that happened was 2017. The next time it will happen is in 2044. So they are saying, some Americans are saying they just feel weird and they can't put their finger on what's going on, but they feel anxious. They feel a lot of restlessness and they don't know why it's happening. So the Monday solar eclipse moved its way up the United States, starting in Mexico and then Texas, and it ended up in Maine. And people are reporting strange side effects. And of course, according to the scientists, you should not have any side effects from, being out and watching an eclipse, but people are having them. Individuals flock to social media to share their symptoms and seek comfort that others may be experiencing similar issues. Now, where are they flocking to? They said quite a few people went out on X. Anyone else suffering from weird insomnia, no appetite, or other weird S that can't be explained? One user said, someone told me the eclipse might have something to do with it, but I don't get how. What's going on? Wow. So, another person posted, not one to reply to this sort of thing, but I've been feeling sick these past few days. I sat up today and said, is it the moon? Others said they felt mentally off in the days leading up to Monday's total eclipse. Anyone feeling emotional with the upcoming eclipse? Another person wrote. So doctors said they don't know what's going on, so they just call it eclipse illness. People with mental illness may be especially sensitive during this time. Some women have shared their menstrual cycles uh, had synced with April 8th, and they don't know why. And they said some of these women had their cycle already, and it should not have come back on April 8th. Or some women got their cycle earlier than normal, but they are noticing a big number of women had their cycle during the eclipse, whether it was due to come on at that time or not. That's another thing they're noticing. But scientists, again, everything can't be determined through science, but the scientists are saying that there's no evidence to support there's a connection between the eclipse and a menstrual cycle. The Healthcare Communication Network has noted that such changes in weird feelings can be attributed to psychological factors such as excitement, anxiety, and the influence of social cues. May explain the physical and emotional responses some individuals attribute to eclipse illness. So, Leanne Polson, this is a physician, writer research, said while she has not seen a link between the eclipse and changes in physiology and disease, she notes that when events occur that is outside the norm, it feels difficult to explain. It can cause an increase of cortisol, which can have physical and psychological effects. When humans observe such an event, they may feel excited that causes a spike in, I guess that's in endorphins. So, anyway, they're saying that another thing is an increase in the heart rate, increase in blood pressure, the breathing rate, blood flow to muscles. All of that can be impacted by the eclipse as well. So, another person, Denise K. Shaw, wrote, "Good morning, wondering if anyone else's dog is acting very odd this morning. One of ours is doing things he's never done, but he doesn't seem sick. Is this some sort of pre eclipse thing? I know that's weird, but," and they did get quite a few replies. Crazed pets. But it's not just humans who appear to be affected. Pets also show abnormal behaviors. Dogs can respond to eclipses with signs of anxiety like pacing or scratching or howling. That's what my dog would do. I would notice he would howl a lot more during the time an eclipse was coming. Okay. So they said this sometimes can be a similar reaction to a thunderstorm or fireworks, how a dog or a cat may react. The reason animals exhibit unusual behaviors during solar eclipse is not fully understood, but scientists have theorized pets' reaction to the natural light dimming and the drop in temperature as the sun is blocked. They think that might have something to do with it. I know they were saying the next day when it got dim that the zoo animals started behaving as if it was nighttime, you know? And when the sun came out, they just kind of reversed their behavior and just went on like it was daytime. So they said it could be a disruption to an animal's natural rhythms, a 24-hour biological clock telling humans or animals that it's time to wake up or it's time for bed. It could also explain why some people may be feeling fatigued after Monday's event. So, the same doctor was also asking questions of people out on X. So Dennis Shull said, wondering if anyone else's dog is acting odd. So they also notice that there were more car crashes. Yes, I know after the eclipse was over, it seems like everybody, checked out of the hotel rooms really around the same time. They left immediately after the eclipse was over. And they said there were more fatal car crashes, not only this time around, but even in 2017, when that eclipse was over, they said there were 1,000 more road fatalities across the US than usual. And it went on over a 3-day period. There were more traffic fatalities that occurred after the eclipse was over. And they're noticing the same thing this time around. So, the reason for the increase in driving is due to millions of more people being on the road as they leave their hometown and head off to cities within the path of totality. According to the report, the overall increase in traffic risk is comparable to those observed during major holidays, including Thanksgiving, Memorial Day, and the 4th of July weekend. In the hour leading up to the event, the number of crashes rose above average, but dropped below average during the eclipse. Yeah, because it was a lot of people were not moving around. They were focused on the eclipse. Then shot up a shocking 50% after the eclipse was over. So, y'all, that is strange, but they said they really can't understand why so many people are talking about feeling ill. Now, there have been times when eclipse occur and I will feel the energy from it. It's not unusual for me to feel that, whether it's a lunar eclipse or solar eclipse, I will feel the energy from it, but it don't feel like an illness at all. Mhm. So, y'all, you're going to have to let me know what you think about this, especially in the comment section. I don't think I've heard anything quite like this before, after an eclipse. Not quite like this. I've heard people feeling a certain way, but not this kind of illness at all. hmm it wasn't until maybe like 20 years ago, I didn't realize how much the moon has a big effect on the wind in this world, and I learned about that maybe like 20 years ago. But it is something definitely going on. Like I said, when we were out and I saw just this high number of dead trees, it almost had an eerie feeling. It's like, what is going on? And I mean, we had cold weather and, things happen. I know trees die. Some trees go through a life cycle and they die, but I just never seen so many at once. So, yeah, there's definitely a lot of things going on this earth right now. And it just seems like everything. And I notice another pattern. I'm seeing a lot of scientists speaking on different issues, and it's always, we don't know why that's happening. We don't know. We don't know. Well, I know is obviously the Heavenly Father is behind the whole thing. He knows why he's doing it. hmm and I wonder, and what it did not touch on in the article, I wonder how many of these folks were actually outside for the eclipse, or did they go outside at all? Or did they just kind of stay in, because everybody don't pay attention to the eclipse. Some people just go on with their normal daily life and they really don't pay attention to that kind of stuff. And I'm just wondering how many of them were outdoors, how many of them were not outdoors. It really didn't get into that. Mhm. Wow. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to get caught up and watch the videos that I posted, and be on the lookout for the videos that will be out tomorrow. And, I'll probably over the next day or so talk more about the trees and the different parts of the world that are reporting, a tree die off. So I'll get into that, maybe tomorrow, or at least by Saturday. I'll try to get into that with y'all. Shalom, family.